this is Ashanti region, yeah, and this is where Chairman Wontumi delivered the victory. Quite a big region. The initial concerns from what we picked up were that Wontumi was doing well in the rural Ashanti, but in Kumasi, the capital, he was struggling because the big forces were mighty against him. And you can think of anything else. I mean, Wontumi is an Akufo-Addo person. Everyone knows that. But there were other people in the decision-making process, and 90% of them were against Chairman. And I spoke to him a few times during the campaign, and of course, people like us with measured voices tell him, reduce the gold and put this one down and go on radio and talk the way you talk and all of that. You know, so, and he was reminding me that before he came in 2014, this was the same thing that happened. He was a constituency chairman for Jachi. Incidentally, Jachi is the constituency of Dr. Osei Duchum, the Minister for Education. That's his constituency. Wontumi was his constituency chairman. So he and Wontumi are quite close, as I can imagine. So Wontumi came through Jachi from constituency chairman to be regional chairman in 2014 against all odds, and people didn't like him and all of that. You know, I heard about him, and then I went to Kumasi in that interview that we showed you. If we have time, we'll show it again, a short one. We went to Kumasi to sort of talk to him, and I had an opportunity to sort of size him up and see who this Chairman Wontumi guy is. Very fascinating guy, even then in opposition in 2016 when I went to interview him. Now, so the report was that he was not going to win. He's not really doing well in Kumasi, but he's doing well around. There was one report, and that's where I'm talking about organization and data. There was one report that sort of got a spot on. Tonight, we're going to share that report with you. So this is how the contest ended. On the morning of the event, Chairman Wontumi believed that he had conducted himself to win 63 votes representing TESCON. That is the tertiary wing of the New Patriotic Party. He believed that he had done well enough to win the votes from Obuasi West, Kweku Kwatin's constituency, about 17 of them. He believed that he was going to win. Then he also believed he was going to win from Fomena in the Obuasi area. Now, all of these three constituencies I've mentioned were not allowed to vote. TESCON people came in and they had to organize a meeting. The NPP had set up a committee for election resolving issues led by the indefatigable Adom-Otchere, the Minister for Local Government. So Adom-Otchere's committee met at the stadium early in the morning. I don't know whether Adom-Otchere himself was there or not, but I know Majority Leader Osei Mansa-Bonsu was in the meeting. And they looked at the TESCON list, they ventilated it, they validated it, and made a decision that at least 5 of them were not qualified to vote. So out of 63, they believed that 58 were going to vote. Chairman Wontumi said, okay, that's fine, 58 is still good, it's mine. He believed that those votes were going to be his. So he was quite comfortable. However, they were not allowed to vote. A lot of conversations about it. Can TESCON vote? So TESCON didn't vote. And that was the first major blow to him on Saturday morning. So I spoke to Andy. I said, how are we doing? He said, oh, the people say, TESCON for no to about no. He said, yeah, hot. I said, no, don't worry. If you have done your work well, I think you can still win. Then came Obuasi West constituency. A valid reason was raised that during the constituency elections, the Electoral Commission was not present to supervise. And therefore, they are not validly elected constituency executives. For that reason, they should not be allowed to participate in the vote. It turned out that these were also Wontumi's people. Then in Fomena, the same thing was said. So going into the election, he had lost 58 plus 17 plus another 14, about nearly 90 votes. That would have been part of his vote that he didn't get. That's when he sat on the rice bag in the tracks of the stadium and people were photographing him and went on social media. He looked so dejected. But then the votes came in and the counting started. This is how it ended. Bernard Chibu-Esiako pulled a landslide of 60.2% of the vote. Odedon Kwekwe Goka came up with 39.7%. Asari Bediako came up with 2.6%. Owusu Ediomi came up with 1.2%. Ohiniba Kofi Edumbewa came with 0.4%. That's the landslide victory that Wontumi won. Science and data is preparation. It's fidelity to data. It's analysis. But he had lost the media war. So I spoke to some of the journalists in Kumasi and said, why are you guys against Wontumi so much? They said, oh, Paul, we're not against Wontumi. But you see, since he came with his radio station, he doesn't even give us interviews anymore. So if we want information about the party in Ashanti, we have to go to Wontumi Radio. And Wontumi Radio, since they started, are not number 1 in news, they're not number 2, they're not number 3, they're not number 4. Morning shows in Kumasi is led by Hello FM, as I've been told, which relays the Peace FM morning show with Kwame Sefakai. The next one is Love FM, which relays the Joy FM super morning show from Accra. Those are the main competing in Kumasi. Wontumi Radio is far behind, but they say that since he had a radio station, he doesn't talk to other radio people anymore. So they were quite worried about his capacity and allowability for the information around the NPP to come out. So I made that point to him that, Chairman, you need to talk to every radio station now that you've been re-elected. So the radio station thing was pumped. It was believed that the opposition NDC were quite scared of Wontumi because of his activities in 2016. But especially in 2020, they were quite worried. So they also joined the whole Goka battle and all of that. But in the end, Wontumi won by 60%. So we're going to address the point we made. He lost the media war, but why did he win? Preparation. We're going to show you how the preparation means. Fidelity to data. And then effective campaigning. So they told me that the people went around and said they were going to promise the people welfare, money, and all of that. Wontumi went and told the executive how he had managed the process, what he had done with them, how he had gotten them to secure proper jobs. And so you are an executive, you also have a job here. You are executive of this constituency, you have a job here. He showed them that. He campaigned on that. Yes, there was a lot of negative with his appearance of super wealthy with Rolls Royce and I'm buying Chelsea and gold around his body and all of that. That's a clear negative, no doubt about that. But then besides that negative, he went to the people and said that, well, when we won power, this is what has happened. So that's effective campaigning. So if you are in power, and I'm going to tell you a story about 1996. I'll tell you a story about 96 in this context. And I'm talking about effective campaigning, fidelity to data, organization and preparation. That's what wins elections. It's not the preponderance of propaganda on social media. That does not win election. It will never win you any election. And it happened to the NPP in 1996. So here comes Chairman Wontumi, who then is now the elected Ashanti Regional Chairman. So let's talk about the work that he was doing. And yes, they give me a 1996 election. 1996, something significant happened in the election, okay? Let me tell you about the story as I relate it to Wontumi and as we prepare for 2024 so that people can understand that you don't go to an election and hope that the preponderance of Sir John's will is going to give you victory in the election. No, effective campaigning, fidelity to data, absolute spirituality. We'll talk about all that. In 1996, two things happened, one of which I'm sure you know already. Mrs. Rawlings tells the story in terms of changing. Now, I know the story. I don't know how many people know it. In terms of changing the leadership of the PR of the campaign. And I ask you to write something for me, always for people, always for development. Make it ready. Mrs. Rawlings appeared at home, the story says. One of the days she came back home in the campaign. And one of her daughters, I don't know which one, happened to be murmuring an NPP song. In those days, Christine Church had led this song. She was sitting him, she was sitting him, she was sitting him, net to Bapa. It was J. Kufuor's song. It appeared to her that one of her children was murmuring the song. And then she asked the child, what song are you murmuring? The child didn't quite say. Then she came to the realization that this was 3 months to the election, that the PR of the campaign was not working. Because if in her house, one of the leaders of the NDC campaign, J.J. Rawlings, was on the ballot, so you know that when J.J. is on the ballot, Mrs. Rawlings is the campaign manager, and she's an effective campaigner by any stretch of the imagination. So she thought that, look, we need to do something drastic about this. According to the story, same day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, she called a meeting in her home. She introduced her called Spio Gabra, that Spio was now going to lead the campaign, the PR campaign, because this is 3 months to the election. It looked like Jerry was going to lose. It looked like Kufuor was going to win. Because the private media had just started, and there was the preponderance of anti-JJ propaganda by the opposition NPP. Professor Dubois was speaking, Nana Akufo-Addo was speaking, they spoke very well, and Kofi Konedu Apreku had just come from America, he was slanging big time, he was speaking, everyone was speaking. The preponderance of the propaganda was against Rawlings. For us young people, we looked at it, looked like Rawlings was really going to lose the election. And in those days, the NDC's, the very intelligent group of people, Guzita, Adom-Otchere, Opoku, Peter Podugbe, I worked with all of them, so I know their names, Totobi Kwache and others. They are still around, but I think somehow they are not being kept as a team together to support John Mahama. Maybe President Mahama must look for them. But that group of people working together, Vincent Assisi, they are very clever people. So they looked at the situation and decided, no, we're going to campaign differently. This was 1996. Then the big story was about the Eastern region. Do you have the Eastern region map? The big story was Eastern region. So the calculation was that J. Kufuor is an Ashanti, is on the ballot for the first time, that is going to sweep Ashanti region. All he needed to do was to get Greater Accra region, and J.J. Rawlings would have lost the election. That's what they said then. And then these guys went to Eastern region, which was then the battleground for the 1996 election, because regions had been distributed. Jerry was going to win Northern, Upper East, Upper West. Ahafo was going to vote for Kufuor. Bono Jerry was going to pick Kintampo and other areas he was going to pick. Ashanti was going to go down heavy for Kufuor. Greater Accra was going to be split. Central region, Kensenaka had been booted out of the Rawlings episode and was now on J. Kufuor's ticket. So Central Region, the opposition were counting it as part of their vote until Professor Mills came in. But Akar was thought to be, that's photographs of Kenson Akar and J. Kufuor having fun over there. At this time, they believed they were going to win the election. Everything was pointing to an MPP and CPP alliance victory. So Akar was from Central Region. He was vice president. He had told his folks in Central Region, in Murray and other places, about the bitter story of JJ beating him up and pulling his shirt. And I mean, that propaganda, that JJ beating Akar up, was worse than Sir John's will. It was enough to get everybody, anyone, any candidate to lose the election, especially when JJ himself was on the ballot. That he beat up his vice president was an anathema. Nobody could imagine that happen. The vice president is an older, much older man. He beat up an older man. And Akar was very dramatic and quite theatrical. So he goes and says, Obrum, I mean, how are you going to win an election like that? This is Koen Kansen Akar speaking at the NPP event. So he joins the NPP. That's what happened in 96. And I'm talking about what does not win election and what wins election, so that the young politician can get it and get their work done and stop the preponderance and think that some will is going to win you an election. It's not going to win you an election. So this intelligent group of people started working with Mrs. Rawlings on the PR, Vincent Asese. The rest went into Eastern Region. Guzi Tano was leading them and pointed out to the people of Eastern Region, you didn't have a road in Adeso, we have done it. You didn't have water in Dwabisobia, we have done it. You didn't have this in Fantiakwa, we have done it. Gradually, the people began to think that, maybe we should give Rawlings another term. Because he's done the water up to here, he will extend it up to here. They went into the Central Region, in the Eastern Region, on effective campaigning. Vincent Asese coined this. Do you have that for me? Always for people, always for development. If you have that, you can put it up. But that's what the NDC brought up towards the end. And it started from the Eastern Region. They wrote this on heavy billboards. Now, in those days, they have the billboard. They have a photograph of the work that had been done. If you remember the road, or if you're in Accra, you know the road in front of Accra Girls. That road that runs from Jowulu all the way in front of Accra Girls 37. It was a major campaign flagship program. They put the road on a billboard. That road was still one of the best. Don't you know that? CP did a very good job with it. So the NDC went out and said, look, we ease the traffic. The road from Tetekwashi to the University of Ghana, that one too, was done at that time, ahead of the election. And they put all on billboards and they wrote, always for people, always for development. It was coined by Vincent Asese. Always for people, always for development. I studied the 1996 election then and now I'm still studying it. So I have a lot of information. You can come, I'll share with you, okay? So I could even write a book about 96 and 2000. So this is what happened. And from that time, as a young person, I started understanding that this election business, and when Adom-Otchere became the General Secretary of the NDC, this was some of the things that was going through his mind. He became the General Secretary of the NPP. He said that as NPP, we've been doing this talking chronicle for too long. It's time to come down and have an effective operation to win election. That's why Adom-Otchere is popular in the NPP. He was the first General Secretary who came and said, this is not about talking. This is not about IEA events. This is not about speeches to be given by Nana Akufo-Addo in nice English, by Safo Mafo and Kofi Kunadu Apreku, who had just come from America. Adom-Otchere said, no, we have to get on the ground and work. We have 200 constituencies where he went around building constituency offices. When they were talking in Accra in Chronicle, they didn't have constituency office in Dwabisobia. They didn't have constituency secretary. NDC had constituency secretary everywhere. And they didn't. But the preponderance of the campaign made Rawlings look like he has lost the election. That's what happened in Kumasi on Saturday. The preponderance of the campaign against Chairman Wontumi made it look like he had lost the election, but he wasn't going to lose it because he forgot about the propaganda, came on the ground, picked it constituency by constituency, polling station by polling station, did effective campaigning, showed them what he had done for them. I'll come to the absolute spirituality in a minute. But this is what the NDC coined. Always for people, always for development. And then the results of 96 came. And voila, J.J. Rawlings was surprised himself that he had won the same landslide that he won in 1992, 56%. Koen Kansen-Akar, the vice president, just fizzled out. Vice president, can you imagine your vice president is with the opposition? Older, very distinguished looking man goes out to Central Region and says, that kind of thing. I remember, I want to show you something that you've already seen. In terms of how hard the NDC was working. Akar had left. They were looking for a running mate. Here's Kwame Ahoy telling us the story about the running mate issue and how they found it. Just 1 minute. Remind yourself of this. Then you understand the point I'm making. Here's Kwame Nahoy.
Was the Minister of Education, and he brought a memo to Cabinet asking us to reverse the decision of the University Council, and appoint Professor Mills because he was much better. And he extolled his virtues. In the middle of it, somebody told him that in this constitution, the government doesn't appoint the Vice Chancellor, it's the University Council, so it cannot be done. But he was very, very emotional about it. And the more he spoke about it, the more I said, Obed Asamoah was in the meeting, but he left before the meeting ended. So as soon as the meeting ended, I dashed to his office. He was Attorney General at the time. I said, Obed, this Professor Mills that Harisoya was talking about, don't you think he's the person that we are looking for? Obed said, Jesus Christ, Kwamina, you are right. He's brilliant. I taught him. Yes. Why hasn't anybody thought about him? So he called Rollins on phone, and they spoke in Ewe, which I didn't understand. And then Jerry said, come there. I know the man. I have met him. He's IRS coming. Go to his house. Whatever it takes today, I want him as a candidate.
So you see that? These are people who are thinking. Kwame Nahoy doesn't tell us the whole story. Later on, I found the story. He says that Harisoya was extolling the virtues of Professor Mills, and somebody told Harisoya that in this constitution. So the story is that Professor Mills had presented himself to be the Vice Chancellor of the university. He had been defeated by Professor George Bennett narrowly. And Harisoya, as Education Minister, was frustrated by the outcome of the results. He went to his cabinet and said, look, Professor Mills lost it, but let's force it on them. Kwame Nahoy says somebody. It's not somebody. It's Kwame Nahoy himself. It's not somebody. It's he himself. He was just being modest. Kwame Nahoy is the one who told Harisoya, because I've heard that from other sources, who told Harisoya that, no, in this constitution, you can't do that. It was Nahoy himself who told Harisoya. Now, this is Thursday. This part of the story. And the Electoral Commission is waiting for them on Tuesday. The ruling party does not have a running mate. That's how precarious the 1996 was. The preponderance of the media, the Chronicle thing and the Daily Guide, and at that time it was Guide, the Free Press, had gone ahead. But the opposition didn't have the ground operation. They didn't have it. And that's what Adom-Otchere brought. That's how 2000 elections was different. That's how 2004 was different. That's how 2008 was difficult for the NDC. That's how 2020. And that's how we said some people don't have the results of the 2020 election. They went to court without it. They don't have the mechanism. They were doing preponderance. We've said that again. We said that before. We won't say it again. But they don't have the mechanism to pull the results together. And they are talking. They are running press conference. They are radio station. They are sharing the will. That's what they are doing, believing that will win them election. If you look at the history, and Solomon says something in the Bible, he said there's nothing new under the sun. What has happened is what will happen. What has been is what will be. So be careful if you're a young politician to do the work. Okay, so you saw Kwame Nahoy's story. They don't even have a running mate. Now, sitting down listening to Harisoya talk about Professor Mills, he's asking himself, but is that not the kind of guy we're looking for? Because our running mate is gone to the opposition. So he rushes to Obed Asamoah and says, look, Chief, this is, I think. Obed says, yes, you're right. And that's not why Harisoya went into the cabinet meeting. He didn't go there to tell them our running mate. He went there to express his frustration about their favorite candidate losing the vice chancellorship at the university. But the intelligent people who were listening to him said, no, this is the guy we're looking for. He's going to get something better than vice chancellor. Obed, then JJ comes to him and said, go to the man's house tonight. You heard the story. The rest of the story, he went to Professor Mills' house. He stayed there all night, said, Prof, you are our savior. He says, Uncle Ato had a better relationship before, told him, he said, okay, let's go. Jerry says, yeah, I know him. He was at IRS, good man, bring him. They bring him, they run it, they do it. I remember Professor Mills' first press conference. I was there when he said that he's been a silent supporter of the NDC, blah, blah, blah. Professor Mills was a big Hasselfolk person. He brought the football on board. The election went in, and JJ won it in spite of the propaganda, in spite of everything Akar said to the chiefs in Central Region about he beating him up and all of that. He won it. So election is not about sharing the will on Facebook. You got to do the work. And that's what Chairman Wontumi did. Now, this guy was of immense help to the Wontumi campaign. And he did some science and data analysis. And they'll put it up and I'll show it to you in a minute. So you understand how these things happen. And then we'll end with the absolute spirituality. We'll end the story there. We will talk about John Boydu's story. And then we will finish. It's 20 minutes in this story. Okay, let's quickly run through it. So this is Dr. Smart Sapon. who did the work and the projections. And he said, the NPP wishes to break the 8, and executives to be elected will be responsible for ensuring that the wishes become a reality. The incumbent is seeking to break the 8 in a competition with 4 strong men of almost equal stature. The executives, he says, to be elected will have to come face to face with a likely tough team from the opposition NDC in Ashanti. The National Party, the New Patriotic Party, recorded a net loss of -2.5% in 2020-2016 and is seeking to improve on its performance. On the other hand, he says, the regional party, the NPP, also recorded a net loss of 3.5% in the last election and is seeking to improve on that performance. In fact, he says, all constituencies in Ashanti recorded a net loss in 2020 votes, apart from Seshafam Plains, Adansia Sokwa, and Ofori Krom constituencies. Okay, based on the above, this study was undertaken to understand the choices of delegates in respect of who leads them to possible break the 8. So this is the analysis now. Data collection and validation is from 11 January 2022 to 22nd May. Method of inquiry is mixed method. Population and sample is, population is 869 delegates. Sample size is 540. Sampling factor is 62%. Elevation factor, respondents, delegates only. The respondents, delegates only. Ethical issues, confidentiality assurance, consent, respect for the choice of the declining to participate, etc., etc. Okay, so they grouped Ashanti here, and they had the cluster, they had Goka. So this is their prediction. You can put it on the TV for them to see. Yes, they can. It's there. You can see it. So they had Goka at in some places doing well, Wontumi doing better in other places, and they fed the people with this. So this is how they predicted in terms of what was going to happen. They thought Chairman Wontumi was going to get 57.8%, and it ended up, I think, +9. They thought Goka was going to get 36.5. It ended up as +0.36. They thought others was going to share 6.2, and it came up at +1.2. So this prediction was done before the election, and I'm just showing this to show that it is possible to use science and data to predict the outcome of an election in this manner. And this work does not come on social media. This is proper work. People sitting down, throw them in the constituency, have a sample size, have questionnaire, and deal with it. How many parliamentary seats are you going to win? Why are you losing here? What are the people saying? Have you reminded them you've done the road? If you are a government, you did the road. If you're opposition like John Mahama, I did it when I was there. You have to do the comparative analysis. Go there, talk to them. Social media is always good. We enjoy it. We all like it. But that's not what is going to win the election. It does not win the election. Some people saw it in 2020. I don't know whether they forgot it. It's not going to win election. It's not. Nothing is going to happen. You can share the will. Ask for the will. Tomorrow, share it. Next week, continue share. You share the will. Don't do the work. Just share the will. Let your opponents do the work. You'll be defeated. The will will be in your hand and you'll be defeated. Kawaka had a stone suit in his hand. He was defeated. I don't know what his relationship with the NPP was after that, but it fizzled out into thin air. Later, he unfortunately passed, and may his soul rest in peace. But that's how it works. So please, let's understand some of these things. And then he comes here and he has the other ones, the General Secretary and National Chairman and all of that. It says, according to many delegates, performance of the regional elections in 2020 was more blamable on the national than the person of the regional chairman. Very late release of election logistics and negative influence of independent candidates are some of the factors that caused it. All aspirants had good messages, but many delegates believe that Chairman Wontumi has the agility and the resilience to overcome the machinations of the main opposition in Ashanti. This is where the thing turned. This is where it turned. Chairman Wontumi has a record, and I always go back to that. That's why I believe that President Akufo-Addo won that election in 2020 when he started his campaign day one and said, I have nothing to say. It's my record and his record. Any politician who says, look at my record, and people can see it. And in 2024, that's what the NPP, if the NPP want to win, that's what they should be saying. We've been 8 years, they have 8 years. They had 8 years from 2009 to 2016. We've had 2016 to 2024. Check their 8 years, check our 8 years. This is the record. That's how they can, if the record then is in their favor, then they can win. The NPP also have a record, the NDC have a record. If it's in their favor, then they can win. And you need to mine it, like you are mining gold. You need to mine it with the people. So Wontumi knew that the election was going to turn on who can deal with NDC, who has the resilience and agility. And he directed his campaign message that way. So in the middle of the campaign, the 11th hour, Wontumi's message changed. He said, I can deliver it. This guy cannot deliver it. Look at my record. He put his record out there. It happened in 2014, I won. It happened there, and the delegates looked at it and they were convinced. Because delegates want to win, and delegates have seen him work. They love Odinoho. There's no doubt about that. If you listen to the media, you listen to the phone-in conversations, you listen to those who are texting, everybody loves Odinoho. Some of them may not love Wontumi, but Wontumi made the point, it's not about loving me. No. It's about who can deliver this election 2024. That's going to be a very difficult election. We've had COVID, we have inflation, everything in the economy is difficult. It's going to be a difficult election. Who can deliver it? Delegates felt that Chairman Wontumi is the one to deliver it. And that's where the matter turned. And that's how Wontumi came up with that victory. That's what happened. And they have all the constituencies predictions here. I have Wano South, Akrofom, Obuasi West, Manso Edubia, Meshia North, Ahafo, Odotobri, Manso Kwanta, Fomena. And so they went in and they were getting, they asked people to, Tescon and others, could not come in. Let's see the photos at the Kumasi Stadium and end there. Now, let's go to the spiritual matter. Because we also added that you need absolute spirituality. So those of us who have the ears of the people around Wontumi, we told him that, Chairman, in addition to all this, Charlie, you have to pray. You have to pray. Prayer is important. Getting aligned spiritually is important. So when I saw the video of them singing that song, I knew exactly what they were talking about. Some of those people you see in the picture jumping about were some of those who had been at the Kumasi Stadium the night before to say prayer and submit themselves to God and ask God for his guidance to win tomorrow. They had done that. You need to do that. It's also very important. It's not talk. It's a lot of work to win a political office. It's a lot of work. It's not just simple talk. And that's how it's going to be in 2024. So for those of us who supported Chairman Wontumi and invited him to pray, we are honoring the Lord. We thank God that his word has come to pass. Play the video for me again. Congratulations to Chairman Wontumi. But I have to say, where are those photographs they showed me? Since he won the vote, Chairman Wontumi has been going around. I'll show you the photograph. He's visited majority leader. Yeah, there you go. So that's Wontumi on Sunday morning after the victory. That's Odinoho in the bluish smoke. That's their people already beginning to unite the Ashanti Region NPP. I think Wontumi is a great guy. I think he's a great guy. Yes, this is another one. This is Chairman Wontumi also visiting another NPP aspirant, going to him on Sunday morning and visiting with him. This is Wontumi at the home of the majority leader, the Honorable Adom-Otchere. Same Sunday. He likes his gold. I've asked him to stop, but he's not stopping. So you can see the gold over there. And Adom-Otchere was with him, and he went to say thank you to him for whatever is worth, and then reconcile the party. On Friday morning at Kumasi's Golden Tulip, I'm hoping to be there. There's a breakfast for all the aspirants, all the delegates. You know, Chairman likes to throw the show. He's doing it for all the 800 people. So breakfast at Golden Tulip. Come. When you go and they don't want you in, tell them that Paul said on Good Evening Ghana that you can attend the breakfast. If they say no, look for Issa or Andy. You get one of them. Tell them I said you should come for the breakfast, whether you are delegates. Even if you're an NDC member, it doesn't matter. Just come for the breakfast. Chairman Wontumi is giving breakfast to all and sundry. Those who know what I mean by all and sundry. Chairman Wontumi is giving breakfast to all and sundry at Golden Tulip, Kumasi, Friday morning in celebration of a peaceful Congress. On Sunday, he'll be in church to do the great Thanksgiving, and then after that, the work will continue. Next week, he'll be sitting in our chair, and it's going to be an explosive conversation. I'm going to ask him to take the gold off when he comes. He may resist it, so I need you viewers to help me. When I say take the gold off, Center say yes, take the gold off, take it off. Say that, so that he will take it off. He's coming here on Sunday, but glory be to God. I supported him. I like the guy. He's very strong, forthright. He knows what he's about. Truly, Onyame Asembeo.